What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Today I've got a serious story for you and one to talk about when it comes to election interference. And the reason I want to talk about this is because not only is it provincial in Alberta, but could soon be what we're going to see federally. Now, I've talked many times about how former Liberal MPs have talked in regards to Justin Trudeau essentially pulling what Marcon did in Paris by essentially running NDP delegates in places where Liberals don't have a chance and vice versa, so that they're not running different MPs in different strongholds in order to take the Prime Minister's chair, the Prime Minister's job, and maintain their coalition. Many people have pointed me towards channels like Northern Perspective, saying those things could never happen. There's not gonna be a combined party anymore when it comes to the government. There aren't going to be those kind of shenanigans. Well, we've got something else going on in Alberta now, which is very alarming. When we talk about Naheed Nenshit and his plans to essentially give out free memberships to the NDP in order to get people to vote for him, his fraudulent, we'll say allegedly fraudulent practices in taking donations over memberships and essentially giving out free memberships. The whole thing was a sham. Naheed Nenshit, of course, would have been slapped with a $5,000 fine, nothing more than, a drop in the bucket. But now as we get towards November for the AGM, or in the annual meeting for Alberta's premier, one of the biggest things that goes down at these events is, of course, her leadership review. Now, that's a time where if you have a ticket purchased or you have a membership to the UCP, you, of course, can go to this event and you can give your 2 cents on what you think about Danielle Smith, about her job as premier. Now, keep in mind, I will have Premier Danielle Smith here on the channel September 14th. I'm looking very forward to that interview to maybe get some of the questions across. Many people feel they can't trust Danielle these days, and many have even said that I'm possibly on Danielle's payroll, to which I say, I wish I was. I'm not, and if I was, believe me, there would be signs. Now, that's not referencing what was said in our live stream. There have been people in comments that say, well, you stick up for Danielle. You're obviously on her payroll. Somebody else who gets stuck in those comments is Cian Bexty over at the Counter Signal. And one of the things I want to point out today is that an alarming tale has come our way when it comes to that AGM vote coming up and the sabotage that is going to endure, essentially to get Naheed Nenshit an accelerated opportunity to get to the Premier's chair. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Cian Bexty breaking this story. The Conservative activist behind the infamous kamikaze campaign, Cam Davies, organized a secret plot to recruit socialists and give them cash reimbursements in exchange for voting against and removing Premier Danielle Smith from office at the AGM in November. Now, of course, I'm not going to click on the full story. That story is also behind a paywall, so I don't want to, while I am a member of the Counter Signal, I don't want to share their articles that they feel they need to charge people for. I would rather sites like that take donations personally than putting their articles behind a paywall, because if they cared about the news, well, they'd put it out there for people to see. But at this point, even though I'm a member, I don't want to share the story with you guys. That has the proof, that has the documents. Essentially what happens at the AGM is that you have to buy a ticket. You have to buy your seat at the table. And it runs roughly between $160 to $180 or upwards, depending on the meals and packages you want to take place on from November 1st to 2nd in Red Deer, Alberta. But I'll share with you the email that came from the Counter Signal. Cian Bexty broke this story that, again, people were being offered cash to essentially buy tickets and go into this event simply to sabotage and remove Danielle Smith from office. But here's where it gets a little juicy. I'm sorry to bother you on a long weekend, but this can't wait. We've already begun preparing our legal defense. Earlier this week, we heard whispers that were a sophisticated plot to flood the United Conservative Party with radical socialists in an attempt to overthrow one of the few conservative leaders in Canada, Danielle Smith. We investigated and convinced a whistleblower to go on record, which is again in the article, allowing us to publish the shocking details of this clandestine political operation to overthrow the Conservative Premier. Here is the story, again with a link to that article. Our reporting was so shocking that it triggered an official audit of the UCP membership book. They are now going through their data with a fine-tooth comb to weed out any funny business. But today, everything changed for us when our newsroom was rocked by a notice of pending litigation. The orchestrators of a ploy want to snuff out the countersignal and silence our duty to tell the truth, our duty to you. Let me be clear, this is lawfare designed to cripple a newsroom with only modest resources and to prevent us from further exploiting their plot. Here's the notice we received in full. Of course, you see down here from Williamson Law. Now, of course, Mr. Bexty, as the publisher and editor-in-chief of this network, I will not be intimidated. Here are 7 facts of the story that I need to share with you. 1, a whistleblower who worked with a shadowy organization shared with us their secret plans. They were searching for socialist, alphabet group people and angry leftists to join the Conservative Party and vote to remove Danielle Smith from party leadership. 2, they focused on recruiting people who wanted toxic gender ideology in kids' classrooms. Now, again, a lot of this focus is based on Danielle Smith standing up to put an end to anybody under the age of 18 having any kind of gender reassignment surgery or taking gender-altering medications. And when I say gender-altering, you can't alter your gender, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. They have deep pockets, and we're using dark money to pay for these usurpers to attend a critical leadership review that may lead to the end of Danielle Smith's time in office. 4, the organization hired a team of political contractors to canvass areas of the province that they could effectively recruit leftists to join their cause, and most outrageously offered to pay them hundreds of dollars in cash reimbursements in exchange for their votes to remove Danielle Smith. 5, we now have identified the organizer of this campaign, and the individual behind this lawfare is the organizer behind the infamous kamikaze campaign during Jason Kenney's leadership bid. Now, again, that was sought out and fines were dropped. They felt that things were done in their best intentions during that issue. But it also says that this individual had been fined a total of $12,000 times for flagrantly breaking elections law in the past. The socialists that he pressured into getting a membership to the Conservative Party would have the legal right to vote for Smith's replacement or would undoubtedly vote for somebody who wants to corrupt children and raise taxes. Let me be crystal clear. We will not be intimidated away from sharing the truth to our readers. Whenever the cost is going to court, we will shoulder it because of our newsroom. We will not be stopped by petty lawfare. Again, it goes on to talk about their legal, how they're retaining lawyers. Again, much like Rebel News, they have websites you can go to, you can donate. Again, I'm not gonna shill those things out. But if we click on the story, because I'll go out without logging into my account, so that we can read essentially what is here, what is up front, because then I'm not sharing anything that's behind their paywalls. The conservative activist behind Jason Kenney's infamous kamikaze campaign, Cam Davies, has been revealed as the organizer behind a shadowy operation to pay for socialists to attend the UCP review and vote against Premier Danielle Smith. Now, again, you can see the countersignals watermarks all over the documents that show the letters. It shows all the bars for everything on how their reimbursements are going to work. It says in a phone call to the countersignal, Davies admitted to owning Canadian Market Strategies, the firm at the center of allegations involving the recruitment of radical left-wing Albertans in Red Deer. So this begs to ask the question, how do we know, again, when it comes to our federal elections, when it comes to our provincial elections, when it comes to retaining the seats of those that people simply just don't like and can't cope enough, that they go out of their way with special interest groups to have them removed from office, that we can ensure that our representatives are allowed to serve their terms, our representatives are allowed to pass the laws in which they see fit, or the bills in which they see fit. Again, I have never seen anything more aggressive. Could you imagine if we were able to do this with Justin Trudeau? How many people would be going and sabotaging bills and votes and leadership reviews with all the scandals he's pulled? But now, of course, Danielle Smith under that microscope. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that AGM in November. Again, I'll be keeping you guys up to date. But more importantly, where I worry is you've already got people who basically run conservative or conservative style views like Marty up north who are constantly calling out Danielle Smith online rather than reaching out a line to them for an answer. Now, keep in mind, guys like Marty, and again, I'm not trying to be critical of Marty, but Marty has been invited to the legislature to meet with Danielle Smith. He has spoken with her people on multiple occasions. So why the stink is being raised online, I have no idea, when simply if he had questions, I'm sure he could get answers. Again, that's speculation, so I don't want to finger point at Marty by any circumstances or make it feel like this is an attack on Marty. I just think that when you have that divisiveness going between conservative value holders, as well as these people that are putting together special interest groups to remove Danielle Smith, it could spell nothing but trouble. And again, with Nenchi's meddling in terms of his election for leadership of the NDP, it makes me question how much money is being flowed out in order to make sure Danielle Smith is evicted or ejected from her post as Premier of Alberta. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think this is legitimate? Do you think it's just a nothing burger blowing smoke out of anywhere? Or do you think there are actual special interest groups that may interfere in the AGM review in November, trying to essentially usurp Danielle Smith's title from the province? If it's the first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Don't forget to hit that bar as you're leaving out. We're on the verge of 40,000 subscribers. I'd like to hit 50,000 by the end of October. So if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you hit that bar down below. Click your bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, my live streaming show where we go over everything that's happened in the week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth within the communities. Mrs. Fringe, my wife, joins us on those streams, and we tend to have a plethora of conversations when it comes to politics, but also some quirky and fun stories and some back and forth within the community. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.